Aw, thank you. Okay, cool. All right, well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Art of Creation show. I'm Rebecca Boswell, your host for today. And as always, we're going to be looking at how choice creates, that choice creates, and different possibilities for creating a life and a living that can actually work for you, whatever that is. So today we have an amazing guest, Jennifer Cramer Lewis, and today we're going to be looking at the topic creating a future that includes having money. So as you're making your choices, as you're creating throughout the day, what possibilities can you take away from today, maybe that you had never considered before, or that maybe just never landed before, that can, kind of give you something different than what you've been choosing in the past. So new tools to play with, new possibilities to look at, and Jennifer has over 20 years in the finance field, so has quite an extensive background with money, and now is also a facilitator of Access Consciousness and a Right Riches for You facilitator. So not only looking at finance from a very traditional, conventional perspective of knowing the nuts and bolts of how it works in this reality, or how it works in this reality, as well as a really interesting and different way of flipping things around and looking at money from a perspective that may be very different from anything that you've ever heard before, which, you know what, if something's not working with money, then maybe hearing something you've never heard before is actually what you've been asking for. So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure to talk to you. It was so cool when we did the rollout for this show. There was somebody who was 1,000% positive that they could not create a future with money in it because they weren't a trust fund baby.
Yes. Cool. Yeah. So, I mean, and like, where have any of us had a little bit of that point of view baked in and not even been aware of it? So, like, one of the really interesting things about money from my point of view, or the way I look at it, is that from the very, very beginning, we start to take things from the world around us, from the people around us, from associations that we've made, like maybe I'm 5 years old, I can't afford that candy, I therefore have no money, I have no way of making money, and therefore I will never make any money. Boom, end of story. That's now my story for the rest of my life. Maybe not our best choice, and yet how much do things that maybe even sound that silly occur, and we don't even realize that those little seeds have been planted somewhere along the way and are actually affecting what fruit we bear or don't bear as adults. So, so what brought you into beginning to play with money in this new way and from an energetic perspective?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I have always had money magic, and I've had times in my life where I had less than nothing. I had back during the financial crisis, I had quite a thriving career as a mortgage broker, and then the banks pretty much shut. I mean, they were not lending, and so I was basically out on the street. I needed to find a new job. And sort of all the way along there, I was creating circumstances for myself. Like, I can't tell you how many times the bank machine has spit out money at me that, like, more than 5 times I've gone to the bank machine and there was money in there.
Wow.
And
I'll have some of that.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And, there was times where I was like, well, what am I going to do with this money? And then there were times where I actually grabbed the money and ran after the person who left without the money. And then there were times where I was like, well, if they ask for this money back, like it was at a gas station or something like that, so I'm not going to just go hand it to the people behind the till. They would have been like, well, thank you.
Well, thank you. I'll receive that if you're not willing.
Yeah. So many different times where I've really managed to make money appear out of nowhere. So notice that. So if you could put a little tick mark, have you made money appear out of nowhere? You may have some money magic. And then One of the things that I've learned along the way is if you do have the ability to create a tremendous amount of money chaos for yourself, you can actually turn those molecules on their head and create some money magic for yourself. So if you're like, oh my God, I've got so much credit card debt, or I have a giant mortgage on a house that isn't even worth what it's, on paper. Back in the day, like in 2010, I believe, the townhouse that I have, and I was living in at the time, was worth $100,000 less than the mortgage that I had on it.
Oh my goodness. Oh
So
my
I could have
goodness.
just handed in the keys. However, the cool thing at that time was that I had an open mortgage, and so mortgage rates were tiny. Like, it cost me less to live there than it would cost me to rent that place. And so I had a home for quite a reasonable price that was my own, that I could do whatever I wanted with it. So, it was a safe haven during those times. So that's my invitation for people watching. Like, if you continue to watch, watch the lens of like, wow, I've created all this chaos. What could I actually do with those molecules? Like, what if I could just flip them and have money?
Yeah. Well, and also acknowledging, I mean, you said, number one, acknowledging, and, it's like if you had gone in, so there are many choices available, infinite number even, at any given moment, right? And so it's interesting. Some people may have gotten into this place of like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. This is happening with my mortgage. I need to get out of it. And then not see anything except for fixing that problem, which actually could have created a much greater mess. And you actually saw the gift that was available there, which was to actually just be able to live there. So let go of what it should have been worth, and because it doesn't really matter what the sale price of a home is if you're not selling.
Exactly.
Right? But some people will focus on that and then suddenly have nowhere to live, right? So we make these choices thinking we're going to protect ourselves, or to somehow address whatever decisions we've made, or what we've decided is the right way, the wrong way, and then we actually can create more of a mess, more of what we don't desire, more of kind of the opposite of what we think we want. Whereas when we can just acknowledge where we're creating something that works, like you had a very reasonable mortgage. Okay, awesome. Like, all the rest doesn't really even, it's not relevant.
Yeah.
Unless you want to go into the trauma drama.
Well, and have a look at that. How much are we socially conditioned to make sure that we never get in a mess? And when we get in a mess, whatever a mess is financially, we're socially conditioned, or culturally conditioned, or even like emotionally conditioned to get out of the mess as fast as possible. Like, basically, how many cliches are there? Like, cut your losses, all of those cliches, like, oh, well, isn't it time to just cut your losses? Well, who says they're losses?
Yeah. Because if you keep going, right? I mean, it's like the stock market. Yeah. If you freak out because everything's gone low and you try to sell, yes, you've lost. But if you say, okay, interesting, it's low today, and you sell maybe 20 years later, and now it's come back up, all of that up and down in the middle wasn't even really relevant to you.
Yeah.
But we can get caught in that.
Oh, we can, for sure. And have a look at that for you. Like, how many days do you show up on the planet where you're just like switched right on? And people are like, who's that? And, I want to talk to her. And, like, the opportunities just come to you. And, like, have a look at like where that shows up in your body, how you feel, what immediately preceded that, feeling, where were you? What were you wearing? What were you doing? And, be a little scientist. Like, I'm a big advocate. Like, I don't say, oh, well, this access consciousness stuff will work for everybody on the planet. I'm not like, like a preacher for access consciousness. I mean, there's been some times where I was like, you need this. And it was never received. So be a little scientist.
Yeah.
Have a look. What energies can you be every day that can be magnetic to opportunities?
Yeah.
And I can tell you, it's when you're switched on. So like, how many ways and how many spaces and places can you just turn on the little molecules of your body and be magnetic? And people are like, wow, I want to do business with that lady.
Yeah. Yeah. And talk more about that, turning on the molecules of your body. Because it's such a yummy energy and such a yummy invitation. And I also get that some people hearing that are like, okay, you just lost me because I have no idea what that means. And what is that? So for someone who this is trickling out to and is like, yes, I want to know more about this, but I don't quite really know what that means. Like, where do I start with that? So if someone is just starting to play with the molecules, first of all, you can do it in the privacy of your own home. Nobody even has to know that you're playing with anything that you might have already decided is crazy. Yes. But like, for somebody who's like, okay, yeah, that might be me. What are a couple things, that if they're like, okay, I'll try being a scientist for a day, maybe two, where can they start to begin experimenting very easily with flipping those molecules?
Yeah, cool. So first thing is, everything you think being a scientist is,
what it looks like.
Can you just check that out?
Yeah.
And the second thing is, everything that you think playing with the molecules is, can you just check that out the other window? Okay. And so I do this every single day. When I wake up in the morning, I spend probably an extra 20 minutes in bed because I'm already relaxed. I don't actually have anything, nagging at me yet. Or maybe I do, but I'm more able to just sort of go, okay, I witnessed that, these 8 people are definitely thinking about picking up the phone, or they've already sent me messages. They have requirements for me today. However, I'm just going to set those aside energetically and just tap into my body. And I put my hand on my heart and on my belly button and just like really feel into, like the core of my body. And I check in with all of the, like with my heart. I check in with my heart and say, hey, heart, hi, good morning. Is there anything in you that's not fully switched on today? And sometimes my heart's like, we're not feeling great today, Jennifer. And I'm like, okay, well, if there's anything that I can do for you, please let me know now. And just check in with that. Oh, my heart's like, we need to go outside today. And I'm like, okay, cool, heart. I promise you we will go outside today. We may be sitting on the porch with the laptop. Does that work for you? And the heart's like, yes. And then, check into your stomach. It's like, hi, stomach, good morning. Is there anything that you require today? And the stomach is like, you know what, I really want blueberries today. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll get you some blueberries today. We already have that. So energetically, it's almost like having a conversation with a child. Like, you're not going to be like, everything's switched on, because like, whoa.
Right.
That's how I do it. How you do it's going to be completely different. But check with all of your organs. If you can name them, then great. And if not, just put your hands on different parts of your body and ask, is there anything that you need today to be fully switched on? And then feel that. You're like, holy, this is what switched on feels like. And so once you've gone through everything that pops to mind to turn on, and then please turn on your sexualness. People love it when you're switched on. So, how nice is it to be with somebody that's like fully embodied in, their gorgeous womanhood or their gorgeous manhood? You're just like, hello, how easy is it to throw money at those people? And what if it was you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that definitely paints a much different possibility for mornings and for starting off the day than just flying out of bed with a huge cortisol rush and, running in the shower with anxiety, all the things you have to do and all the, so, I mean, what a different invitation to be able to actually start your day from a conscious place, from a switched on place, and from a place where you are actually acknowledging from the first moment that you're awake that you are choosing to be empowered for your entire day.
Yeah, and you're choosing to include your body in the equation
Yeah.
of your life and in the equation of your finances. Because I'll tell you what, if we didn't have bodies, if we're just floating around, or we were like sort of futuristic, we can just snap our fingers like Avatar and like show up exactly the way that we want to.
Yes.
Which maybe we can.
Yeah. What
I'm
would
just
it
going to leave
take?
that little wedgie in your world.
Yeah.
Yeah, like switched completely on, and your body is like, well, where would we like to go today? And I'd love to be the invitation that you can actually do that with your bank accounts. You can do that with your wallet. You can do that with your home. You can do that with your art, with all of your valuables, like whatever it is that you love to collect. That loves it when you collect it. So that might be a conversation for a little bit later. But like, think of all the valuable things that you have. Do you have jewelry? Do you have art? Do you have talent? What are the valuable things that you possess? And so what if you could be like, hey, valuable things, good morning. It's Jennifer. It's Rebecca.
Mm-hmm.
Hi. Are any of you needing me to pay attention to you right now? Because it might be the stock market. The stock market's like, yes, I need you to pay attention to me right now. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you sort of scroll through your Bloomberg or whatever. And you're like, uh-oh. Hello, you're red this morning. Is there anything that I can do to switch you back on?
Okay, as simple as that. And so asking the question is also another tool. I know we talk about that in other episodes too. Just asking a question can actually be a powerful tool in changing things. So it's not even just about, oh my gosh, now I have to figure out what to do and who to call and what to sell or what to invest. You can actually just ask a question. And I love that one. Okay, so tell me, what can I choose to switch you back on? Or, okay, so where's the gift in this? Or what are some of the favorite questions that you like to
Yeah, but
ask?
look at that. Like, look at what happens in your body if I say, hey, Rebecca, what's going on with you? Is there anything I can do to
Yeah.
switch you back on?
Yeah. Woo!
Rebecca's like, I can think of a few things, Jennifer.
That's awesome. Yeah. Cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, Cass. Same question. So what are some of your favorite questions to ask?
Yeah, well, one of the things that I've been playing with that has sort of just showed up in my world is I'm really energetically available, sort of almost like with percentages and with lists and
Mm-hmm.
with numbers, and not from a space of calculation, from a space of energy. And
Okay.
so I've been asking, if, this life and living that I'm asking to create is a 10 out of 10 for me,
Mm-hmm.
where is this thing today? So
Mm-hmm.
like, where are my investments today? And I get, okay, my investments right now are an 8 or a 9 out of 10. So where's my body today? I just went horseback riding just about all day yesterday, so my body is so thrilled today. So my body's like, oh, yeah, we're switched on. And so you can do like a little inventory of your life and have a look at those things that are less than 7 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And, you can say, okay, body, show me what 0 out of 10 is for me. Okay, so tap into that for you, Rebecca. Like, where does a 0 out of 10 show up in your body? You've got it, I can tell.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
and anybody listening, so just
Mm-hmm.
ask your body, even say it out loud. Hey, body, show me what 0 out of 10 looks like for me.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
now, hey, body, show me what like 4 out of 10 looks like for me.
Okay.
Okay, now, hey, body, please show me what 7 out of 10 looks like for me or feels like for me. Okay, you got
Yeah.
that. I can feel
Yeah.
that. Okay,
Yeah.
body, show me what 9 out of 10 feels like.
Yeah.
Okay, and what's 10 out of 10, body? Show me 10 out of 10. Okay, and for me, 10 out of 10
Yeah.
shows up like way over top of my head. And it just like booms out into the universe.
Yeah.
And so it becomes beyond thought, beyond calculation. You actually know what these energies are for you. And so if you're, and it can be anything, like do you have draining sort of financial obligations? And you can, you know, energetically put your hand on that draining financial obligation and go, okay, cool. At any time in the future, will you become a 10 out of 10 for me? And it goes, no, I won't. I'm going to suck the life out of you forever. And then you're like, okay, cool. Well, now I have a job. The job is to remove this draining financial obligation out of my life.
Yeah.
You know, or invent something that pays for the draining obligation. So, you know, I mean, there can be things that you are stuck with at this point in time. It may not actually, like my house wasn't a draining obligation for me. I was actually able to get a roommate, and the roommate paid for most of my mortgage. And so even though I was barely bringing in any money at that time, most of my mortgage was covered by having a roommate. And so it's like the next question is like, if this isn't going to be a 10 out of 10, truth, can I get rid of it? Like easily, elegantly, not with a struggle. And if it's a no, then it's like, well, what can I invent that will look after this draining financial obligation? You know, so say, you know, for example, you're not making any money, your mortgage payments are really high, and it's not a good time to sell it. Well, what can you do? What can you invent? What can you invite? What can you have that will take care of this financial obligation for you?
Yeah. And that's really where asking questions, you know, you can recruit the energies of the universe, and you can also recruit all of the different possibilities that, you know, you can also tap into with your creativity, with what you know, when other than when we're problem focused, right? We cut out all of the creativity. We cut out all of the possibilities that, you know, may not look like what we think they should look like. So so I love these examples because they really, you know, they really are ones I think that we can all really get, and then see how this energetic piece can also be very practical.
Yeah, and it is practical. Like, you know, you don't have to like sit in a cave for 10 years to learn how to do this. And I
Yes.
mean, you can if that's fun for you.
Right.
But also, like, what I noticed when I really started to talk to my body was, you know, I'd be like, hey, body, yes or no? Hey, body, yes or no? And then I'd get sort of a, yeah. And then I'm like, okay, well, what do I do with that? And so this new thing that I've been playing with, this 10 out of 10, really changes things, right? Because you're like, you don't even choose a sort of like, meh.
Yeah.
And when you, like, you know about the wedge effect, because you said that in one of the posts. So if you, like, just today, do an experiment where you only choose stuff that's like, you know, 8, 9, 10 out of 10. And the 8s or the 9s are stuff that will become a 10 out of 10 in the future. So you're like, oh, where are you at today? Well, we're just about an 8 or a 9. Okay, cool. And where can you be in the future? What can you contribute to me and my business and my body and my life in the future? And if it says, well, I'm going to be 10 out of 10, I just need to grow up a little bit more, then it's like, well, you know, get in my life then. And, you know, if it's like, well, today it's 8 out of 10, but it's got an expiry date, then have a look at that too. Truth, does this have an expiry date? And not from a space of, oh, well, I better hustle and have it replaced by the expiry date. You may be the expiry date. You may not require this in the future. You know, you may have grown your life and your living and your business to a state where you don't have to have this thing or this relationship or, you know, this financial obligation. You know, I mean, any of these things that may be sort of below an 8 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is really an interesting tool. How many of these things do we just not acknowledge? And so we might be at an 8, and then we don't acknowledge it, and it just sort of gets, floats away somehow. Like we don't acknowledge it. It doesn't. We don't even recognize that it was an 8, and then it's no longer there. Whereas when we can acknowledge it, it actually does have that much greater capacity to become a 10 as well. So this thing of like even just checking in with like where are we, and how much are we focused on the 2s and the 3s, trying to make them 8s, 9s, 10s, instead of actually looking at the 8s and 9s, knowing that, right, that we can actually put our energy where there's already more flow, instead of trying to bring all of the low numbers up to high.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, in my business, I call that shining a grow light. Like if your life is a garden or a crop,
Yeah.
like I'm a old farmer. I grew up on like a farm, and so what are you energetically shining a grow light on? Are you shining a grow light, like you said, on the 2s and the 3s, trying to grow them into something? Whereas if you took the grow light and shone it on the things that you are truly grateful for, you're like, holy crap, look at this house I live in now.
Yeah.
Look at what I've created so far. Look at my amazing friends. Look at my kick-ass business. Like, look at the things that I can truly be grateful for, and not in a space of I should be grateful, because when you should yourself, it's like, it's disgusting. And so have a look at that energy. Like, is, telling yourself that you should be grateful, where does that show up? Like, that's like a 2 out of 10 for me. That actually makes me mad when I feel the energy of I should be grateful.
Yeah. Yeah. And I totally get it. It's so, and so great. So gratitude, right? Let's go there a little bit, because, I'm just really, I'm very aware of when people are in a situation with money. Let's say they have a lot of past expenditures. Let's say they, maybe they even have a lot of income coming in, but like in the title, they're not having it, right? So there may be a lot of money coming in, but there's also a lot of money flowing out. And, you can be a millionaire, but if you're constantly having more or almost all of what's coming in going out, you may still be a pauper from that,
that was
balance sheet perspective.
Yeah, it really was my story. When I was in real estate and making really great money, I was so unhappy. The money was just flying right out of my life. I don't even know what the hell I spent it on. Like, I have no clue. Like, there was nothing tangible. I call it feeding the ugly green monster. Like, I could not keep money in my life. There was an energetic disconnect to keeping money in my life at that point.
So how much of it is when we have this sense of like there's never enough, right? So it could be I'm never enough, there's never enough money to do everything I want to do, to have everything I want to have. Whatever it is, it's that sense that there's never enough. There is no actual true abundance. And everything is a struggle. So when we have that sense that there isn't enough, right, or we're drowning in bills, or whatever the situation is, and then we get faced with something like gratitude, or putting our energy to the 8s and 9s, I've seen it where, and I know it from myself, where it's occurred with me as well, where it's like, well, screw you, you don't know, right? Or it's like, yeah, that's the case, but except for right here, this is the exception, there's no other way. So when you're working with clients, or you're in a class and this kind of thing is coming up, and hi to everybody watching, we're so happy that you're here. So when these things come up, what are some of the ways that you're able to assist people in getting through that space of feeling they should be grateful, to actually getting to the space where they're willing to receive gratitude for all of it, even the parts that they've judged as wrong or a mistake or bad?
Yeah. What a great question. Yeah. So number one, everything that you think you should be grateful for, let's just throw it out. Just like,
Yes.
go away,
Yeah.
go away, go away. It might take 5 years to throw out all the crap that you think that you should
Yes.
be grateful for that you're not.
That's
really.
what I call flushing the cosmic toilet.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I call it the swirling toilet bowl.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So there's that. And then, energetically, what happens when people tell us that we should be grateful, the underlying point of view is that we're an ungrateful piece of bleep.
Yes.
And so, is that true? Are you actually an ungrateful piece of bleep?
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah.
You know, you're just shining your grow light on the stuff that's not working for you.
Yeah.
So, you know, and I love making lists. That
Yes.
is my big thing is,
Yeah.
you know, like maybe if you're listening to this and you're like, there's a lot in my life that I just simply can't be grateful for. Okay, cool. So let's just set that aside and like maybe even write a list of 25 things that you're grateful for you for.
Yeah.
I know that might sound Chinese to people. I said,
Yeah.
write a list of things that you're grateful for you for.
Yeah.
And it's like, it could be, I'm grateful for me for creating a body that is, you know, really healthy. And, you know, even if I want to eat chips and wine for a week, my body's still healthy.
How's it getting better?
Yeah, how does it? And, you know, I'm grateful for me for creating this thing. I'm grateful for me for creating this thing for me. And so the more grateful for you and your experiences you can be, like I have had unbelievable experiences. And, you know, for a long time, I was just so freaking furious that my life was showing up the way it was showing up. All I was doing was shining a light on fury.
Yeah.
And, you know, looking for more reasons to be mad and looking for more reasons to be outraged, or
Yeah.
in Access Consciousness, we call it a beyonds. So, you know, all I saw were people asking me for stuff that there was no way that I could deliver. You know, they were like snatching stuff out of my life that I thought was mine. And, you know, just like I was so angry. And so what happened was I created more circumstances where I was pissed off. And I can tell you, when you're mad, there's two things happening. One, mad can actually put blinders on. Your intellect goes down at least 10 points. So if you've got a really great intellect, then awesome. And if you don't, then you actually need those IQ points. So get out of anger. Physically, what happens is all of your blood rushes out of your guts, which is your third brain, and it rushes into your extremities so you can like pound somebody or run away. And so you're not smart when you're mad. So acknowledge if you're mad, then great. The other thing is there's this book that I absolutely adore. It's called Power versus Force. And like I have it just sitting when I'm having sessions so I can just whip it open and show people. Anger is such a great indication that you are ready to freaking choose something else. Yes. You know that there's another possibility that's just a hair's width away when you're pissed off. So like when clients are like, I'm mad, I'm like, yes. Or that thing you said, it really pissed me off. I'm like, good.
Good. That's awesome. Yeah, cool. So power versus force. Awesome. We'll put that in the show notes as well so people can look it up. So instead of saying, oh, you know, I'm angry, I should be grateful, we could even look at it and like, oh wow, this is actually my power showing up. So what is it that I'm now ready to choose? And
totally.
And then that's something you can put on your list.
Yeah.
Being grateful for having acknowledged your power and
Yeah.
having made a choice in that moment of power.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, oh, I'm really fired up. What could I choose now?
So
And you
was
can even
that,
yeah, say,
yeah,
thank you,
go ahead.
body. Thank you for showing me these opportunities. Thank you for showing me like just how much chi I actually have.
Yes, yes, yes. And what a different set of choices that emerges from that place than when we implode or when we hide or when we go into self-destruct mode. So, that one choice in that moment of anger, do we destroy or do we actually choose to create something different? That's a choice that we make. And all the choices that stem from there are going to be completely different. Choice creates.
I love that. Yeah, it does. And,
So,
if you weren't making yourself wrong about feeling so pissed off, what if
yeah,
you're just like, hey, good morning. How are you feeling, body? And your body's like, I'm mad. And you just said to yourself, good. What are we ready to choose today?
yeah, yeah, awesome. How can we use this? What gift is this today? What capacity is all this energy, that I could now, what can I choose with it that I've maybe never chosen before? I mean, lots of times, we hear also that when we get to that place of anger, it's actually our potency coming forward. And so do we want to keep suppressing it?
No?
Or would we like to perhaps harness it? Not harness it, like limit it, but like to grab on to it and say, okay, let's go for that ride. Um,
Exactly. Yeah. When you were
yeah.
talking about that, I just saw somebody, grabbing the mane of a horse and just,
Yes, I saw a
barebacking it
dragon.
and being willing to like ride that horse of possibilities, even though it looks like you might fall off, even though it looks like the horse isn't going in the direction that you say you would like your finances or your business to be going in.
Yes,
Like, what is
yes,
it really showing you?
yes, yes. So, was your turning point? Was that from a place? Did you turn the molecules from anger, or what was your turning point, um, that allowed you to create what you're living now?
Yeah, well, I really do love that. I would say I, well, one, I got some facilitation.
Yes. Okay.
So, I mean, yes, these tools empower you to know, and then also feel free to exercise the phone a friend option. And so
Yeah.
I did, well, I didn't just phone a friend, I actually got some facilitation. And the facilitation that I got was so valuable to me. It was like, what if being pissed off or like charged up about stuff is actually a superpower for you, Jennifer?
Yes.
And I'm like, it is. I
Yes.
get charged up for my clients. I get excited about their businesses. If they're choosing like stuff that doesn't work for them, I'm like, I'm so excited about what you're choosing. I wonder if we could like harness that. Like I'm just
Yes.
so full of like, ah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that not being wrong, if I wasn't trying to be like a lady or a
Yeah.
professional or, I mean, even as a mom, there's a certain amount of like potency and you better not do that
Yeah.
actually works as a mom.
Yeah.
And, like if you never made that wrong about you, how wealthy could you be? Because you like
Mm.
sometimes these opportunities do come and you have to grab them by the mane and ride them.
Yeah. So we have, and this kind of segues beautifully. We have a question from Ruth, and she says, "You're speaking from a space that's quite different to where I am, or that she's in right now. So, what do you suggest to have this amazing energy that you're showing us? So, if you're not in this place of having that potency bubbling, like maybe you're actually in a place that you perceive as feeling sad, or maybe you're in a place where you feel more depressed or like you have no energy, and Ruth, please feel free to comment more if there's more we can add to this. But if you don't have, if you're not trying to tame the dragon or cap the bubbling pot, and you're like on the other end where you're barely able to get yourself out of bed, then, you know,
yes.
where can we play from that place?
Yeah, cool. So some of the stuff that we covered earlier, like, you know, tapping into your body and starting to switch on your body systems. It's interesting. I went for I'm such a little scientist. I love body work. And I went for this amazing body work session with this guy where he basically went through every system of my body and started to flip them back on again. And he wasn't like superior about it. He wasn't like, well, this system is turned off. That must mean these 5 things. We just actually played with it and it was amazing. And so I was able to be curious without a point of view about not the why, but just be like, oh, wow, I wonder what these systems being turned off have to do with, you know, like the big sphere of my life. And just, you know, sort of collect some data, but not from a place of significance. Just be like, oh, well, you know, today I really am a freaking 1 out of 10. I cannot even think about getting out of bed today. Like, okay, cool. Hi, body. Hi, good morning. You know, hi, heart. Is there anything that I need to know about you today? And the heart's like, basically, we just need to cry all day. We really are feeling a whole bunch of emotions that need to be expressed some way. And me, the heart, is suggesting that we just cry all day. And what if you didn't make that wrong? You know, like one of the things that I notice with facilitation and with people is they get so close. They're just like, ooh, you know, and they bounce back from the feelings or the emotions, and they make the feelings and emotions wrong. Instead of just going, oh, well, that's very curious. I'm feeling really sad today. Like I had a moment on last Friday where I was going to go. There's a shop in town here where I go and have office hours. And so I was going to go into the shop. And I was just like, oh, I don't even really feel like going into the shop. And so I was like, okay, body, will I feel better after I go to the shop than I do now? And it was like a hard yes, I would. So I went to the shop, and it turned out that there was a guy doing sound healing. And I was like, oh, that's so good. Like I knew that, like we joke that, you know, 98% of our feelings aren't even ours. And we're not quite joking, because you really are just picking it up on the psychic Wi-Fi. And so I was looking, and honestly, 30% of it was mine. And so there was 70% of it that was somebody else's or something else's. And later I found out one of my girlfriends, she had to have one of her old horses put down because it was in a lot of pain. And then it turned out one of her girlfriends that she was sort of estranged from had to have her horse put down at the same time. So, you know, they were coming together as like, can we be friends again? And can we have this experience? And so I don't pick up on my friends at all.
Yeah, I bet. I bet none of us do.
Yeah.
Especially if we don't know we do. I'm sure we then really don't.
No. So that could be definitely contributing to your 2 out of 10. But what if you actually didn't snap back or make yourself feel like you should, you know, like white knuckle through any of this? What if you gave yourself permission to just stay in bed and, you know, and then started to ask for some facilitation? Because I can tell you, so many years of my life, I was 2 out of 10. And, you know, I went from like 2 out of 10. Well, I was 2 out of 10 and I was fucking pissed off.
Yeah.
I was trying not to swear, but there it happened.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah, you know what? There's an energy that, you know, breaks through. So
yeah. And so that really did implode. I was, you know, eroding my whole being, eroding my financial future, eroding my possibilities to receive contribution from anybody, because I was so angry and I didn't know how to get out of it.
Yeah. And you know what you're saying is, I realize too, is like sometimes we go just as far. We're only willing to go as far as gets us to some sort of an answer. Like You know, it's like we'll look at something, and then all of a sudden we think we have enough information to draw a conclusion, to have an answer, which maybe isn't actually going all the way through to whatever the thing is. But
Yes.
like we get like almost there, and then we're like, well, we have enough stuff, so now we'll just put it together into our little conclusion, and now like we're going to keep going on in the world. But it doesn't actually work that way. And then we wonder, well, why is nothing changing? Why, why am I not feeling better? And then why am I angry? Or why do I not want to get out of bed? And then we have all this meaning that we attach to it. And it's with that meaning, that's where we're judging. That's where we're holding on to that decision. That's where we're trying to defend it or prove something about it, that it's right or that it's not right, or all the things that have lined up to make it so real, whatever all that is. So it's like, like what you're talking about is not looking for meaning necessarily, right? Like asking these questions, connecting with your body, connecting with your finances, connecting, like if you're really pissed at a bill or you're pissed at a person, even just connecting to the energy. You can connect to the energies of a person without even talking to that person, right? But like connecting in and checking in and seeing, okay, what's going on with me through this, and not just to get some information and then go like fix it, but to actually sit with it and see, okay, now, and sometimes we, like for me, like I'll even recruit the universe. I'll say like, okay, so this one's actually, I know I'm connected to you, and I know that I know I have all the power of the universe, and I am just not getting it in this 10 seconds. And like, so universe, could you please have my back in this brief period where I'm struggling to have my own? And, just recruit some assistance. Who can contribute, whether it's continuing to stay in bed or to reach out, like you said, phone a friend. So when it seems like there's never a choice, like when it seems like there's no other choice in what's going on, there's always something. So you can at the very least, choose to just fully choose whatever you're choosing.
Yeah.
Or
instead
keep
of
asking
just
questions.
snapping back from the actual feeling that you're feeling. And when you were talking about that, it made me think, like, how much do we make money the answer?
Yes, exactly.
And how much do we make our job, like, oh, well, I just need to get a job. And then you get a job, and then you're like, oh, well, this is the answer. Now that I have a job that pays this amount of money, I'll be able to do this, 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 and this. And so how much conclusion is in your universe about what money is already doing for you, or having more money will already bring you? And I know that that's a little airy-fairy. That might be a little, ooh, what is she talking about? So just maybe even have a look, like, how important have you made your job?
Yeah.
Have you made it, like I always joke, like, are you expecting a pony to win the Kentucky Derby?
Yeah.
Or, can you just appreciate that ponies are really great? And what else can you add to your life? So if you have your job, then what else can you add to your life? You're like, okay, well, I can have my job, and then I can have a profitable hobby.
Yeah.
And then I can be a trophy wife. And then I can be this, and then I can be this. Like, what else can you add to your being that you would be able to profit from?
Yeah.
And so, like, one of the things that I really do is I study the expertise that people have with money, with finance, with wealth. I go and have a look at, like, a whole bunch of different things that interest me about that, not from a space of, praying at the feet of a guru, just like from a space of, like, if all the world is a buffet, and that's my quote that I love the most from Auntie Mame, all the world is a buffet and most poor suckers are starving to death. So like, what is already in your buffet that you're not actually acknowledging, that, like, wow, you know, I am able to go to the grocery store and buy what I want to buy. You know, thank you, me. I did that. I created enough money that I can go to the grocery store to buy what I want to buy, you know, and then it's interesting. I mean, I'm not starving and I still love to go thrift store shopping. So when I was overseas, I was in England, I went to like a little thrift store. I think they call them something else in England. And I found an amazing hand knit fisherman's sweater, like with the cables, and then the knitting that's in between the cables is something like super fancy. Like somebody was an amazing craftsperson.
Yes.
So I couldn't buy, I mean, if I tried to buy that at Holt Renfrew or Neiman Marcus, like good luck. One, it wouldn't be there, and two, it would probably be $5,000, you know, because somebody actually spent the time to do that. And, you know, like, so acknowledge that you may have a superpower or a super capacity with stuff like thrift stores, with like picking up art or jewelry for less money than, you know, some people. You know, I mean, God, my mom was such an expert at like buying horses and then like working with them for like 4 months or something like that and selling them for like 5 times what she bought them for. You know, so what development process are you already doing or being that you can profit from?
And is this what you were referring to earlier in the episode when you were talking about speaking to collectibles?
Yeah.
So is this, so you're actually walking through the store, walking through the antique shop and talking to these pieces? Will you make me money?
And it's interesting. Like we have a really, in Canada, we have this thing called Value Village, which is this like giant department store full of secondhand things. And so those are great. And then also shops. And I usually actually ask, hey, body, what department? And my body's like, glassware, there's real crystal there. And then I'll go and I'll find the real crystal. Or it'll be like the men's department. There's something interesting there. And one time I went to the men's department and there was an Akubra, which is an Australian cattleman's cowboy hat.
Oh.
And they're like basically, I think they're like $150 US. You have to order them out of Australia. So that would be like shipping and handling and everything. And I got it for $10 and it's gorgeous. So gorgeous. Yeah. So what's already adding to your life that you already have in your house that's actually accumulating in value? It could be your house.
Yes.
And are you willing to talk to the molecules of your house and say, oh my God, I'm so grateful for you. Is there anything that I can do to help you be more valuable? And maybe your house is like, you need to paint us. We're feeling neglected. Oh, yes. I can totally feel you're feeling neglected. All right. Well, who do I know?
Yeah.
You know, who can we connect with?
Who would you like to pull in?
Yeah. Well, Did I say who do I know or who do we know?
Oh, yeah. Who do we know? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, so before we wrap up, you know, is there anything else you want to say about, you know, in our title, having money? Is there anything else you want to say about, you know, there's creating money, there's having money, avoiding money,
spending money,
exactly.
Saving money.
So what really is having money from like what you're aware of, and you know, what are like 2 things that can kind of bring all of this together so we can say, okay, so yes, I'd like to choose having money and I'm willing to play with this over the next however long.
Yeah. Well, I've got a couple of things.
Okay.
So one of the things that I find really stops us from being able to have more money in our lives, like basically, like for me, if I have $10,000 in my checking account, like in Canada, we call it a checking account. You might call it a current account. That makes me feel like anything that's coming up in my life, anything I might want to choose, anything I might want to have, if I've got 10 in the account where I can just like use it or not use it, that changes my life. And so it might be 5, it might be 2,500, it might be just that you're not in your overdraft that makes you feel like, wow, I'm doing well financially. So, be a little scientist with that. I have a gift for people who are watching. So if you go to bit.ly/unlocking you, I have a 90-minute class that talks about all of the pre-programming that we've received from this lifetime and any other lifetime about financial abuse. And so financial abuse is anywhere somebody told you you couldn't have something because of money, you couldn't choose something because of money, because you're a woman you can't have that kind of money, or like anything to do with not have and money equals financial abuse. And so it could have been from a kindness space, or it could have been like completely unkind. So there's a lot of like, like slavery that happens in middle class households. So, anywhere anybody made you feel like you had to do something in order to get money can have a slavery vibe. So you can have a look at that. It's a 90-minute class. It's an audio download, and then you have an opportunity to hop onto my online university and grab the full class. So you can have a look at that.
And this will also be in the show links as well. So
perfect.
for the live, it's already in the comments, which is awesome. But for those of you who are watching this through YouTube, down in the show notes, we are going to have that free gift that Jennifer has so graciously offered.
And then we've had people who haven't actually bought any other thing. They just grabbed that for a free resource. I had a lady from Mexico City. She somehow found me. She doesn't really speak English, like almost barely. She found that resource. And then we ended up getting on like a chit chat together where we were using Google Translate. And she said, you know what, Jennifer, I don't speak English. I only speak Spanish. I've been listening to this resource and it's starting to change things for me.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Wow. So I invite everybody to go and get that free gift and listen to it. And I would love to also hear what changes for all of you who do listen to it and begin to look at, what if I was willing to be a little bit more of a scientist, and, who am I today? What am I choosing today? Am I willing to check in with my body? What is switched on? What is not switched on? Would I like to switch that on? Would that like to be switched on? What could that contribute to my day? And then to also my, my body, my health, my wealth, my finances, my, my life and my living. So, this has been an amazing, amazing chat with you, Jennifer. The hour has gone so quickly. I would love to keep going. I'm like, wait, I'm sure there's more. But we'll just have to have you on the show again if
maybe
you'd
this
like
is just a beginning
to join. Yes. So all of you watching, if there are more things that come up as you begin playing with this topic, if there are more questions, please feel free to submit them. And I wonder what more we can create in the future as things begin to shift and change in ways that you may have never even imagined possible. So again, you can find Jennifer at her website. I am going to have that link as well. So all the links to be able to get in touch with Jennifer will be in the show notes. And you can also find Jennifer on Facebook. I know she's been tagged, her profile page as well as her business page. They've both been tagged in the posts leading up to today this week.
Yeah, come
so
and say hi.
You can easily
social.
Find her. Yes, find her there
Jennifer
as well.
Jennifer Cramer with a C, Lewis, the not fancy Lewis.
Yeah, love it. Cool. Well, Jennifer, is there anything else in closing that you would like to put out in the world?
Yeah, what I would love to leave people with is, what if it's just the beginning? Like I always noticed with, my super achiever clients, I call them the super creators, they do get a level of frustration. They're like, I want all of this yesterday. I want to have 10,000 in my current account. I want to have investments that are worth, hundreds of thousands of dollars. I want to have art that's worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I want a business that's worth millions of dollars. Yes, you can have all of that and you can choose it. And what if choosing 8, 9, 10 out of 10 going forward for you and starting to just let all that other stuff that's not 8, 9, 10 out of 10 dissipate out of your life? Stop feeding it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Feed the 8, 9, 10 out of 10s.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'll see you this time next year. And if you
Yeah.
implement even one thing out
Yeah.
of this whole entire hour, one thing, you know, for the next 12 months, something dramatic and amazing and delicious will change.
Oh, I love that. What an invitation. I can't wait to see who, is coming, raising their hands. Choose me, choose me. I want to tell you my story. It'll be a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for being here. Thank you to everyone at home watching. Of course, this show would be very different without you watching live. Thank you to you all. And then also all of you watching in the future on the recorded version. If you've enjoyed the show, please do like the Art of Creation show on Facebook and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. We would love for you to get notifications for all of the future episodes upcoming. And otherwise, over the next week, I wonder what you will be choosing. I wonder what shifts, changes are available to you. And I wonder what we'll discover next. So goodbye, everyone. Have a great week.